So today I decided to give a visit to a couple of thrift stores local to me, namely a Goodwill and a Savers. Now whenever I went to the Goodwill I didn't find anything good, however whenever I went to the Savers I found this. Now this is a Dell Dimension 3100 computer. It's in pretty decent shape for what it is, however it is missing a couple of parts which I'll get to later. Has a price tag of $9.99 on it, which is what I paid for it, which honestly I would consider about $20 too much, considering this is just a simple Pentium 4 Dell. And while it does have hyper-threading technology, it has been long succeeded by dual cores and quad cores and 6 and 8 and 16 and a million core processors. Now this is by no means a very powerful computer today, but I found it to be something that I would consider a bit of an oddball for considering what I normally get for computers. One reason I say that is because it's actually missing its power supply, which is nothing out of the ordinary. However, whenever you see what's actually inside of it, I consider that to be a bit of an odd pull. Now here's a look inside the computer, and I was very surprised at the lack of much dust at all, because while this computer is over a decade old, it should have some dust in it, but I was very surprised whenever I opened it up at Savers that there was barely anything in it. I mean, you can see that they either clearly cleaned it out or, the previous owner took very good care of it. Now, one reason that I say it was an oddball that they pulled the power supply was that this computer has 2 gigabytes of memory in it. You may notice there's no AGP slot in this machine, not even an artifact for one, which is kind of surprising. Otherwise, I would take one of my many AGP video cards and stick it in here. Here's that first stick of memory, and you can also see that second stick right in there, which is also a gigabyte in capacity. Now, I will have to replace the hard drive as it was pulled, probably at Savers, just to protect the previous owner's data. But at least they did leave me the mounting bracket to mount a hard drive. As for the power supply issue, I did find this in my parts bin. This is a power supply manufactured by Norwood Micro with a model number ISO-300. I cannot actually find a watt output on this label at all, and there was nothing on any of the other sides. So I'm going to guess this is probably either the name states it's a 300 watt, or maybe it's like a 235 watt, but I'm not exactly sure. Anyway, whenever I did plug this into my handy-dandy power supply tester, it did test good. And I already did check the form factor, and it does fit inside the 3100. So I think I'm going to attempt to replace the power supply with this. Alright, the power supply is in, and it's wired up. I've taken out the hard drive bracket to insert a Seagate 80GB drive. And it's all ready for, hopefully the system works. I just don't want the system to blow up and take my hard drive with it. Alright, so we've run into a bit of a roadblock. So this power supply does not actually support serial ATA connections, so I actually had to pull the cables from one of the optical drives. And this optical drive was actually a little bit buggy anyway. It would sometimes wouldn't open, sometimes would. But I left one of the optical drives still fully plugged in, and I plugged a 120 gigabyte parallel ATA IDE Western Digital hard drive into where you would normally put the floppy drive, but I could not actually get an IDE, a full IDE connection into the correct slot. So I put it there. Works. Alright, it's plugged in. Time to turn the power supply. Alright, well, it didn't blow up. And it did turn on automatically, and we got a picture on the screen. Since it turned on automatically, I imagine that the BIOS battery is long dead. F2 to run setup. Alright. What do we got in here? I should probably get the camera set up on a tripod. Alright, I consider that to be a pretty decent angle. Alright. Well, let's get some information. This is a 2.8 gigahertz Pentium 4 with an 800 megahertz front side bus with 1 megabyte of level 2 cache. And it is 64-bit capable, which I was not expecting. Got 2 gigabytes of, it says 533 megahertz memory, but it actually is 667 megahertz. It is DDR2. Alright, yeah, the BIOS battery is long dead. It is definitely not October the 8th of 2005, and it's sure as hell not 12:02 in the morning. So, I guess we'll go ahead and try to set that, but I imagine it'll forget it probably instantly. What is it? It is November the 25th of 2018. And it is no, that didn't set. Oh, I have to put 2:29 in the PM. Alright, and it does not detect any hard drives, which is to be expected because I didn't actually plug one in yet. Onboard devices. So we appear to have... We do have an onboard audio, which makes sense because I did see a PC speaker whenever I was inside the case. And... let's just make sure this is set correctly. Alright, fast boot is on. Yep. Alright, I could probably actually try to run the service tag, which I'll probably actually show you guys here in a bit, just in case you do want to check this out for yourself. Actually, I might be able to... yeah, there you go. Service tag is DD6N491. Express service code is 290953869949. Just in case any of you are interested. That BIOS is definitely a few revisions off. Definitely not A03. That's definitely not the newest BIOS for this machine. I'm sure they updated it. Alright, I guess we can just exit setup and throw our hard drive in there. That was an odd noise. Oh my. That is definitely the hard drive. Alright, I stuck a 160 gigabyte Western Digital hard drive in there. Hopefully this one works a little bit better than the air turbine that was the other one. Uh-oh. Oh no. Hear that? It's very clearly the hard drive, and probably another bad hard drive, but for a different reason. Oh, well, that's just wonderful. Well, I was finally able to get into Windows Setup, and since I'm booting off of a USB, hopefully it'll go faster. Well, I'll let you know whenever it's done. Well, so much for that. Alright, so since the USB didn't work, I'm going to try booting from the CD and try to install Windows. So, here we go. Alright, so the install finished, and then I got this error. And whenever I was looking it up, it appears I can try to fix it using the Windows XP CD and entering the recovery console. So, I'm going to try that. Alright, it is the next weekend since the last time I have updated you. And I finally managed to find a working hard drive. I believe this one is a 100 gigabyte Maxtor drive, but that doesn't guarantee it works, like I should have said, but At least it did get to the stage of the Windows XP installation where it actually starts installing Windows. So, hopefully it works, and I'll update you guys on whatever it happens. Now, I'm definitely not one to call myself fancy, because I don't even have the computer and monitor propped up on a desk, and I'm using my leg as a mouse pad. But Windows XP did install correctly, finally. And as you can see, we have a 2.8 gigahertz Pentium 4 processor, 2 gigabytes of memory. Apparently we've got a missing video driver, Ethernet driver, and I'm guessing that's probably the PCI controller, which I'll probably find a driver for pretty easily. As you can see, Pentium 4. It does not actually have a audio codec listed. It just says the audio codecs, video codecs, all that. But there's that 100 gigabyte max store drive. I'm gonna guess it's probably like a Diamond Max 10 or maybe a Diamond Max 9. I'm not exactly sure. But we do have 2 DVD rewritable drives, but this power supply does not actually support serial ATA connections, so I had to use the parallel ATA connection from the other optical drive to actually plug in a hard drive. It does say there's a floppy drive, even though there clearly is not one in the machine. However, I do plan to install one because UXW Bill fans would know real computers have floppy drives. Nothing really that interesting other than that, just I don't know why it lists primary IDE channel twice, but that's a thing. And apparently it does have 2 channels, so you could probably put 2 hard drives in there pretty easily. Other than that, nothing that interesting. However, I do plan to do some upgrades, as you will see here in a moment. Alright, now that the computer is fully functional again, let's do some tests on the internet. First off, what I'd like to try is an idea I got from YouTuber V Westlife, and that is to try CNN's website and to see how well that works. This mouse does not like the carpet very much, which isn't very surprising. I mean, I could go get a mouse pad, but I don't really have the willpower to go look around for 15 minutes and not be able to find one. Plus, the way the tripod is positioned and the way that I would have to put the mouse pad isn't very functional, might I say. Alright. It's kinda loading, but it's just very slow. Alright. It seems like it loaded it alright. I mean, it's missing some pictures. It'd probably be better if it was loading in more of an HTML text kind of format. There's not going to be any audio because I can't find a functioning audio driver for the 3100. However, as you can see, by the drop frames to frames it's actually playing, it's actually doing it very well. This is running 360p. Because I think 480p would be a little bit too much for this machine. I think it would push it a little bit over its limit. However, it's running 360p video streaming perfectly fine. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you made it to the end, I thank you very much. If you would be so kind as to leave a like or a comment, I certainly would appreciate it. Thank you all for watching.